welcome back to NCOT, and welcome back to another movie review. Woo! Welcome back to NCOT, and this week we actually have a really interesting twist to our movie reviews. We're reviewing the one and only Out of Darkness, which is a movie that has not come out officially.
No, and I bet you're wondering how we watched it. It's because we have a membership, or is that how you refer to it, to AMC? A membership where we pay a certain rate a month to see, what is it, like 3 movies?
3 movies a week for free.
Yeah. And we saw on there that there's this thing they're advertising for Scream Unseen, which is AMC's way of, getting you to go see a movie that hasn't been released yet, particularly a horror movie that hasn't been released yet. So for the January 29th screening, it was Out of Darkness. So if there's an AMC near you and you want to go do it, we had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, I think it's like one every month or something like that.
Maybe even more, because there was one posted for this week too, like a few days, like tomorrow or something. I forget. But yeah. It was a lot of fun.
This movie officially comes out on February 9th, which is this upcoming week. So we're here to give you a little bit of our opinions and what we thought about the movie before it comes out. That way, when it officially comes out, you can decide for yourself if you want to go see it or not.
Yeah. And I don't think we're going to go too much into exactly what happens.
Yeah, I'm not giving too many spoilers.
But we will give our honest reviews to what we saw. And then whether or not we recommend you all to go see it.
Yeah, to give you a heads up, this Scream Unseen, the format is that you go in without knowing what movie is going to show.
Blind date with a movie, as you could also refer to it. Mm-hmm.
Like, obviously, you can make your assumptions of, like, oh, if it's going to be a horror movie, you know that for a fact. And there is a horror movie that comes out in less than a month. So it's probably going to be that one. So we kind of had an idea. But I personally was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. I hadn't really heard much of anything about this movie.
No, not at all.
I don't even remember seeing trailers for it. No. So I was pretty happy that this is the one that was chosen because I don't think I would have seen it otherwise.
I mean, I don't know if you're going to mention it in what you have written down already, but this movie came out actually in 2022.
Yeah, that's what I saw. I didn't have that in any of the reviews that I read, but apparently it was like a UK release.
It seems to be like a low-key independent organization, company, production house, whatever. And it probably was that the film was on the film festival scenarios. A lot of these film festivals, what you're required to do is for your film not to have a worldwide premiere or not to be posted on YouTube or anywhere that it can be streamed other than like the film festivals. So I imagine this is the situation. For example, our own short films are not really on YouTube per se because it's still in the circuit of film festivals. And then 2 years after that, I guess this film was officially released worldwide. So I think that's probably what happened.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, it's a 2-year-old film, if you will.
Yeah, but only us Americans are seeing it for the first time now.
Well,
unless you saw it in the UK, but unless you traveled there, you wouldn't really have seen it much.
Well, I don't think it was released in theaters in the UK, is what I'm saying.
I thought that that's what it said, that it was released in the UK.
It had a UK premiere, which was probably at a film festival.
I don't know. But Animal Kingdom worked on it. So, I don't know, you tell me.
What does that mean?
It's like production
So
company.
Animal Kingdom worked on
I mean,
it.
because they filmed it in Scotland, if I'm not mistaken. So with the connections that they had, they could have done a theatrical release only in the UK or where it was filmed, but not necessarily had it published much of anywhere else, for all we know. This is all assumptions. I don't know any of this is true. But
it's 1 a.m., 1:30, and we're a little bit gone.
Just a little bit. So let's get into what the movie's about. So the little summary here that I have on IMDb says, in the old Stone Age, a desperate gang of early humans band together in search of a new land. But when they suspect a malevolent, mystical being is hunting them down, the clan are forced to confront a danger they never envisaged. I'm assuming it's envisioned.
Envisioned.
But it's it's even worse. Envisaged.
I mean, right off the bat, this movie was really beautiful. And as you were mentioning, I don't know if you mentioned Norway or I don't know exactly where it was filmed, but
I'm pretty sure I heard it was filmed in Scotland.
Oh, in Scotland. Okay.
I'm pretty sure. Do not quote me on that.
It sounds about right. But the scenery, the location that they picked is really gorgeous.
Yeah.
And it really works well with the film as a whole because it makes you feel like you are in the middle of nowhere at all times, walking for days, and you have no trace of anything. This film is set 45,000 years ago. So I'm not quite sure how far along we were as a human society. I don't know. I know that there are groups of people that date that back, but I have no actual like history knowledge about way back when. But it seems like these people were a formed society with like a civilization.
Yeah, or enough of it where there was like roles that you had in like
a leader
rankings.
and
Yeah.
second in command.
And a solid language, which also the language was made entirely for this film.
Yes, so that's actually one really great thing about this film. It wasn't in English or any other language, as far as I know, because actually online it shows that the language is unknown. So, and there was a language professional that worked on this film, I believe probably to create the language specifically for Out of Darkness.
Yeah. I don't know if they like based the language off of anything in particular, whether that be like ancient languages, or any of like the modern ones that we had. But I definitely couldn't place it if I had to choose.
Yeah, they don't necessarily talk
like
a whole lot, but whenever they talk, it's in that language and
so
with English subtitles. Which at the beginning I thought it was gonna be like we're gonna start talking in this language, then slowly transition into English, just to make the audience see that they're not really speaking in English. But they never did, and I actually applaud them for sticking to that decision. I think really well done.
It's a lot of extra work, definitely, but you get paid off pretty well. It made you really enveloped in this society, I think, versus just going into it, hearing everything in English to begin with.
Now, one thing I will point out is that if you're a horror fan, this is not necessarily a horror film.
Yes.
This is more like suspenseful thriller,
psychological thriller at that.
Like you don't know what's coming out of the darkness, as the title says.
Yeah, there's no of the signature like jump scary horror. It's really just atmospheric. You don't know what's happening next. You can't see the monster, but you know the monster's there. Those type of stereotypical placements in the horror genre definitely are there, but there isn't anything
it feels more
crazy.
Like a suffocating experience more than someone's monster ghost is here to hunt me.
Yeah, and I think that might have been why some people who we were in the audience with didn't enjoy it as much.
Because I think I went to the restroom right after, and I overheard a group of guys being like, well, that sucked.
Yeah, I think you go into horror expecting to be scared, and when you're just sort of taken on a journey and not necessarily screaming as a reaction, like you can tend to think that it just sucked.
And is this only slow as a movie, especially as a horror movie in 2024? It doesn't speed up through any areas or anything like that. It takes its time, and it actually, like with the protagonists and actors that are part of the movie, it makes choices that you wouldn't expect a regular movie to make.
Yeah, definitely. But what's interesting though is that the runtime's only 87 minutes long.
Yeah, it's not long.
Because it's actually like kind of a shorter movie. seeing as it's less than the usual like 90-minute thing. But they really do take their time, like really drawing out the suspenseful moments.
I think if it was like a 2 hour and a
definitely.
half, maybe 3 hours, then I will be like, okay, listen.
Right, exactly.
You're making it too long.
It was like nicely paced, I think, more than anything, because you really got to follow them as the days passed, and you felt the tension building, and you also understood the characters more.
Yeah.
I feel like in other situations you learn about the characters like
They don't really care
as you
much.
go through the motions. So when
Yeah.
they start like dying off, you don't really care. But this they really made sure that you knew what type of person each character
Yeah.
was.
And give them a personality.
Exactly. And they didn't have to say it either. You saw that through their physicality. You saw that through what they were wearing. You saw that through how they behaved in the group
Or the weapons they
themselves.
had.
Exactly, yeah. So we learn a lot about these guys, and you definitely care about them.
And you learn a lot about the kind of civilization and stereotypes that they have.
Definitely, yeah.
Now, this production house, completely blanking on the name right now, but they also have another movie coming out this year
Bleecker Street. Yep.
with a Bigfoot thing, Family of Bigfoot, that also was in Sundance.
Oh,
We saw the trailer right before
the
this movie.
Sasquatch movie
Yeah,
looks so bizarre.
so interesting.
But we will probably look into more Bleecker Street movies as the time goes on, because that was weird.
And it has one of the main actors. I think he was in the 100, which is a WC show. I'm pretty sure.
CW show.
WC is restroom.
The CW
The
show.
loo.
The Lou.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm right about that. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like a known-ish guy. Anyways, shall we get into some reviews?
Yeah.
We have some Trusty Dundee drinks.
Trusty Dundee? What in the world is happening? Okay.
What?
So because this movie isn't out yet, I don't have the usual like Roger Ebert professional ones, but I did find a few. So this first one is agentsoffandom.com.
Wow.
So they say the
What,
following.
like memes are like, source? Trust me, bro.
Right, exactly. So both the sound design and the score created by Adam Janota Bazowski act as navigating forces during the film, with the arresting and persistent drum beat personifying the movements of the shadowy threat just beyond vision. The crucial sound design of a movie like this can make or break the entire experience, and in this case, help solidify its success. The script, written by Ruth Greenberg, stretches a little thin as the nightmarish horror that is impending on Bea and her family morphs into a story that shifts its focus to that of a human tragedy and evolutionary habits. In that sense, the final act of the film feels like a slight departure from the first two acts that work so well as a clean and clear monster horror. It's indeed commendable that a film of this ancient nature, with a short runtime of just 87 minutes, expands its already sumptuous horizons to tackle such noble themes. Visually enchanting, Out of Darkness works its very hardest to arrive at an answer to the archaic question that's haunted the human race for eons. Are we the very monster that we have been so afraid of for so long? A survivalist question that handily works on multiple planes of reflection and is both visually and thematically represented throughout the film. Although the editing and at times slowed pace of this horror flick refuses to generate the necessary tension to take a tale like this to the next level, Out of Darkness succeeds overall and is a solid entry into the darkness-fueled subgenre of movies.
Yeah, I think that was really well said. Mm-hmm. I mean, again, as they were mentioning, not a horror film that you will expect, but also I think the way they paced it, it wasn't too rushed, it wasn't super slow to the point that you were falling asleep. I mean, I feel like you and I specifically are not usually gravitating towards these kind of films.
Yeah, I'd say
And
that too.
we both came out of the movie theater with a really good opinion about this film. Like, we both were like, not what I thought it was,
Yeah,
but great. Like, we actually did like it.
definitely. Yeah. The sound design was incredibly interesting. I've always found that sound and horror working together really makes things more scary. So while I didn't necessarily feel like an overwhelming like anxiety response, I did still feel that tension, that irk that you get when you know that something's going to happen, or you know that something could happen.
And there's a lot of silence. With the sound. And you're an avid believer that silence in horror movies, when well done, is really effective.
It works. It freaks me out for a reason. And that's why I wanted to use silence in like the film that I made as well. Because I think in the same way, I see it as when you do makeup and you make a monster, how you don't want to reveal it too soon.
Yeah.
Because then you ruin that sort of charade you have with the audience where they don't know what it is, so their imagination run wild. And the silence as well, you can only imagine what's there in the forest waiting for you.
And as a filmmaker, you can really go anywhere with it, because if there is a lot of silence, you could either come with a jump scare, or you can not do anything, which is keep that much more
building the tension.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. But I definitely understand what they mean about the third act. I won't go into it.
But I feel like it definitely threw me for a little bit.
I definitely disassociated, because the plot in which you think you're going under changes, and you end up with more of a philosophical question at the end. Like, are we the monsters we're afraid of?
And there is nothing in the first two acts that makes sense to what happened in the third act.
Yeah.
Honestly.
That connection was broken. Yeah. Definitely.
Like, you don't see it coming because there is no proof.
Yeah.
Honestly.
They don't give you any sort of inkling about what's to come. Which, I mean, is great, usually great. But it's just, for this particular ending, I don't know if that was the most satisfying conclusion that I could have had.
At times during the hunting, I was wondering what exactly was it that was behind the darkness. Like, was it a monster,
as anybody
or an
would.
animal?
Yeah.
Like, I had no idea, and my mind went through all of the different options.
Definitely.
Do you have another review?
Yep, I have it from, this is another random website I just discovered today, movablefest.com.
Oh.
So it says, a hint of Alien can be detected in Andrew Cummings' crafty survival thriller, as if instead of playing out in the future-facing expanse of outer space, Out of Darkness simply reaches deep into the equally uncolonized past for a scenario just as mysterious and potentially treacherous for its sextet, as they try to find a place with warm caves and plentiful animals to hunt for sustenance. The film holds the timeless appeal of realizing that they are the hunted. Some truly inspired camera work from cinematographer Ben Fordsman, occasionally giving a feeling of destabilization when untethered from a traditional shooting axis, and infusing power into the shadows with evocative lighting, helps create a sense of dread for Adam's followers. But Ruth Greenberg's script suggests they should be as fearful of one another as anything they can imagine out in nature. Well, before they appear in actual peril, it is made clear that this group has been brought together by circumstance rather than affection for one another, as Ave, soon to give birth to Adam's child, isn't keen to tell a campfire story to his kid, Heron, that she did not give birth to. Again, says a line about how the language was invented for the film. The group may be able to communicate with each other, but they have about as much of an understanding as anyone watching on it if the subtitles dropped out. In his debut feature, Cummings shows a real talent for world building and creating suspense when the danger of uncharted territory can be felt at every turn, and hazards such as a quicksand-like pit full of body parts are out of the ordinary even by the standards of the genre. At a tight 87 minutes, Out of Darkness may play more epic than its runtime, but feels as an endearingly scrappy as characters struggling to survive at its center, and whether in terms of a career or a world at large, it has the energizing feeling that it is the start of something.
Do you see this going anywhere?
What do you mean?
Like the universe that they created here.
I mean, you have a lot of options, but personally, I feel like you should leave it where it is.
The one and done. Yeah. But I definitely saw the thing about it having some alien-ish vibes.
Especially in the way, like, that they like, also turn on each other.
Yeah.
In the film. I can relate it also to The Thing. I don't know if you ever saw that movie. Fantastic. We need to watch that so you can see it. But yeah, it just really gets down to how humans will react in situations of peril, and how they can also turn on each other in those moments when you're supposed to care about each other.
And one thing it was definitely reminding me of the whole time is Horizon, the video games for PlayStation, is because in Horizon is like this futuristic, deserted world after the world has ended, and we're back to like cavemen almost, but with technology from the past, which is our future, and it was pretty similar, with like the religion behind it and the hierarchical normative or whatever, and the way that they were hunting for a living as we were doing it in the past. It feels like there is always that doom of like going back to who we were once. And seeing this film that happens 45,000 years ago, mind you, I don't know how historically accurate it actually is, but it almost feels like we're not that far from that.
I know. Like, a lot of the behaviors and stuff just make it into a modern story and it would still work. And that's, I think, what's even more horrifying.
Exactly. And it also feels like it can happen later on in life as well. Like, say everything goes downhill from here and society has to rebuild itself. It's the same thing, but after ruins.
Yeah.
And now we're back at hunting. Maybe not animals, but still.
Yeah.
So there's obviously something there with the ending of the film and what actually can happen in society and how philosophical it can feel, for sure.
Definitely. Yeah.
Well, if you are watching this movie, please make sure to let us know what you think. What did you think of the rating? How many clapping boards out of 5?
I go back and forth between like a 3.5 and a 4.
Okay.
Just because I thought it was solid for the most part, and I really liked the world building that was happening, and I liked the tension that was going about it. I just wonder if like my own expectations for the amount of horror that would come with it might be making my rating a little bit biased.
Okay. I mean, I'm going to take it for what it is as an independent film. I'm going to give it a 4, like a soft 4. It's not like a Hollywood blockbuster 4. It's more like an artistic, artisanal 4.
We'll have to map that out so we can know for next time. Is this an artisanal
like
4?
In its own 4 category.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here one more time. Obviously, make sure that you take a look at this film when it comes out in theaters February 9th in the US. And let us know what you think about it if you go and take a look at it. It's been a pleasure being here one more time. You can follow our podcast on Instagram as NCOT the podcast. If you're watching right now, you're
motioning. Yes, put here.
Put here. If you're watching right now on YouTube, you can find us on all podcast platforms at NCOT !. If you're listening to us right now, you can also watch the recording of this video, as well as many other vlogs and whatnot, as That Film Couple on YouTube. And that will actually be the same handle for TikTok, where we have short form content for this movie and other movies that you really will enjoy, and just random stuff from our life. That is also That Film Couple on TikTok. We also have a Twitch in which we have played in the past, and we're planning on playing again sometime soon. So
we just gotta get better at it. Yeah.
We just gotta get steady with it. And that will be Sebas Parra 1K. And last but not least, you can follow me on Instagram as sebi.mp4.
And you can follow me at caitlin.mp4.
Thank you for being here one more time, and we'll see you in the next one.
And cut. That was a pathetic clap. There you go.